Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. Sometimes you just have to play a high tempo game because your opponent has such a strong unit composition, and this is one of those games. Let's go. At the bottom here, I am playing as aerial specialist with sledgehammers and marksman. My opponent, Cass, is playing as a quick supply spec with stormcallers and arclights. Cass is, I believe, around 2300 MMR at this point. All right, so with sledges, I've started to do a ASIM aggro. I think it gives me a greater chance of pushing through to the tower. Being an aerial spec, I have the opportunity to be very cheesy for the first round, so I bought myself a pack of wasps. Now, I was expecting my opponent to go into fans, because that's typically what you would do when you're running into sledgehammers. Fans do stall your sledgehammer fire a little bit longer than crawlers. So that's why I have the wasp sort of behind sledgehammers here. But it's just going to be crawlers, and the crawlers are no problem for me. So the wasp is going to just win everything here. All right. Round 2. We got quick teleport as an option. Nano is also pretty good as well. I took quick teleport because I am playing aggro, so I am planning on using the flank a lot in this game. All right, so a pack of sledges went down. Okay, for my opponent, he also took quick teleport. And he's still doing sort of a symmetrical board. He's not selling out any of the stormcallers just yet. He thinks that he will be able to defend on this side. All right, sledgehammers are coming down. The wasps are never level 2, and because the fans are now being pulled away into the sledgehammers, the wasps now have a open path towards the tower. And there's tower once again. On the other side, my opponent still does not have adequate anti-air, so eventually he will need to answer this pack of wasps, which continues to grow. And this is very annoying because I'm trying to bait him into overcommitting into my anti-air. Improved fire control system taken by both of us. For him, it's probably going to go on a squad of Mustangs. Well, no, it's actually going to be his own wasps. It makes sense because I already have sledgehammers, and Mustangs aren't particularly great into sledgehammers, so he needed something to deal with that. But instead of defending, my opponent decides to counterattack on this side. And just happened to be the same turn that I also wanted to touch the tower on the other side, but unlike my opponent, I did not put down the crawlers, which means my wasp will not win this fight. Which is a little unfortunate. Now, unlike him, I still have some upshoot in the form of his marksman, but this is going to be a huge round with a tower debuff. All right, round 4, we got a unit drop here. Now, between the 4 of these units, I think Scorpion makes a lot of sense for my opponent. I mean, I already have Mech Rage on the Sledgehammer, so having Scorpions will do very nicely into them. If my opponent's going to take Scorpion, I can't exactly take Steel Balls. Scorpions kill Steel Balls very quickly. I can't exactly take Tarantula, same issue. So it's got to be the Phoenix for me. Alright, so Phoenix for me, Scorpion for my opponent. And more tanks coming down. And this is where you really want to keep the tempo, because your opponent has a superior unit composition. With the Scorpion down, I think he will have a pretty good chance if I just play conservatively. So I have to be very aggressive. I have to get tower and make sure that the Scorpion doesn't get too much value. 2 ways to go about it. Well, first is that you want to make sure you stall with enough crawlers. And of course, my opponent, being a 2300 MMR player, realizes that crawler is probably the only thing that's stopping the Scorpion to really inflict maximum damage. All right, so it's going to be another tank on the far side to deal with these crawlers. And of course, I have my level 2 Wasp here as well, knowing that there's not going to be a lot of defense. My opponent's putting down his Wasp, but fortunately there's already a missile there, taking care of the Wasps. Alright, level 2 Wasp doing work. Phoenix is also doing great work, able to take down the Scorpion. And of course, there's the very annoying level 2 Sledgies on the side. So for my opponent, there are a couple problems that he'll need to solve, and all of them are hitting him at the same time. Sticky oil could be very useful. It will at least stop some of the problems from multiplying. For me, I just need speed, taking the haste module. Let's take a look at the board here. So my opponent essentially has 3 problems. The first problem is this flank. Mech Rage tanks is very good at just destroying this chaff right here. And because these are level 2, even the Vulcan with the item is not able to kill these tanks very quickly. The second issue is down here. There's virtually no chaff clear except this Vulcan, but this Vulcan may just get stuck on this Sledgehammer, which means my crawlers are just going to come in. Right? The only chaff clear here is just this Arclight, and is not doing a very good job at it. Alright, my opponent took Bombard, which makes sense. It's trying to get rid of the Phoenixes. For me here, I think what I need to do is to make this issue hurt even more. And how do we do that? Charge shot on the Phoenixes. Charge shot on the Phoenixes allows these guys to shoot the Scorpion or kill the Scorpion in 2 volleys. Right? And because my opponent's going so heavily into giants, into just high HP units, I think charge shot is really going to pay off. And then the final problem my opponent has is on the other side. So initially, there was an issue at the front where my high-level Wasp and my Mech Rage Sledgehammer is just getting in too quickly. After my opponent added even more units to defend that position, I've decided to put even more Sledgehammers on the side to distract. So now my Wasp, again, has a very clear line into the tower. It's not as clean as I like to be, but still got the tower. And once you have the tower, you'll be able to pick up all the Scorpions. Now notice on my far right, everything died except these Phoenixes, which means my opponent is just about to flip the board. So this is the most dangerous part of Mechabellum, right? You need to make the right decisions. Otherwise, even if your opponent is down to like 40 HP, if he flips the board because of superior unit composition, then you're in a world of hurt. Alright, we've got cards here. Intensive training is interesting. It allows me to level up either the Phoenixes or even the Sledgies. So for my opponent, let's see, how can he defend these issues, right? All right, so we've identified a couple issues, right? This one is still there. This one is still there. Last round, we had a bit of a problem because by the time my Wasp got to the tower, everything except the Phoenixes were all died, right? So because my sledgehammers are usually my only way of chaff clear, I needed them alive for a little bit longer, otherwise my Phoenix would stick around shooting at his fans. So how do you do that? Well, let's look at the board and find a hole that's not being covered. And turns out there's one right here in the middle. A lot of times people forget about this middle. They think, oh yeah, you're gonna flank on the side here, right? Because all your units are being pulled to the flank. But sometimes if everything is being pulled to the side, the middle will be wide open. And that's where I'm putting my money on. One missile here to deal with this crawler, and then another missile at the front in case there's any fangs at the front. And a straight mobile beacon to the tower. This is a level 3 wasp with item. They do 1181 damage per shot times 12 units, so that's a lot of DPS. We got a single Vulcan here defending, but I think these wasps should be able to bring down this Vulcan in no time. Now the question is, will be enough time? Ooh, actually, you know what? Did my opponent sell the Scorpion? My opponent sold the Scorpion, which means the sledgehammers are continuing on unimpeded. Oh man, this is disastrous for my opponent. Not only he lost the tempo here on the tower, he also has no answer for my high-level sledgehammers. I think he was trying to pivot into Scorch Vulcan to deal with the sledgehammers, but I think it was just too little too late. All right, so a very exciting game that hinges on me being very tempo driven. And I hope you like this video. And if you want to see more videos like this one, here's one for you. And I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.